I've said before, I'm not an economist. I don't have any of that type of sort of training or anything like that. But I do read a lot about what a lot of other economists say. I think I find it sort of very interesting. Um, Certainly hearing their opinions, what they think is going to happen. And I'll tell you this now: if you are listening to a lot of British economists, a lot of them are saying it's not going to be very good. The only economist out there that is saying that there is going to be a good future for the UK post Brexit is one Patrick Minford, and he was the Brexit economist. And we've talked about him multiple times on this channel when he's sort of cropped up now and again. When it came to sort of the economics, especially in 2016, you had Daniel Hannan, aka the brain of Brexit, as he was sold as. If you've got a question about Brexit, Dan's the man who's got the answer for it. But when it came to the economic side of it, that was meant to be Patrick Minford. That was meant to be the Brexit economist. That was the guy who could answer the questions on the economic side of it. But they didn't wheel him out all that too often. Indeed, they tried to keep him undercover as much as possible. That's because multiple times Patrick Minford had been saying the exact opposite of what the Leave campaign had been saying. He basically said, yeah, Brexit's going to destroy the UK manufacturing agricultural sectors, and that's going to be a good thing, because all we'll do is we'll import what we lost out. And you're like, well, hold on, Patrick. If you do that, what happens to all those jobs? Yeah, you can see why they kept him very much under wraps. And today we're going to go over to this investors side of it, because one of the things that was talked about was when we do Brexit, it's going to cause a lot of investors to sort of very much pull out of the UK. And today we're seeing very worrying sides of stagnating trade. And I think anyone can agree that stagnating trade is not a good thing to happen to an economy. That shows that there are some serious underlying problems. And when you've got this coming from a big source of like an investment magazine who talks about investment that's going on and sort of the news in an investment world, when they're bringing this up, there's a problem somewhere in our economy. Of course, well, it's Brexit, but of course you have to turn to these types of outlets to even get even the slightest bit of actual acknowledgement that, yeah, Brexit's going on. It's causing a significant problem. And of course, when you have this type of problem, there's a knock-on effect. There's always a knock-on effect. If you've got a stagnating trade, then what's happening to the businesses in the UK that are experiencing this stagnation trade? What's going on with them? And of course, this will eventually knock on down the line. As we said, less investment will lead to less jobs. That's going to be a bad thing for a whole lot of people. And that could even lead to not only just less jobs, job losses. So anyway, let's go diving into this. But before we do that, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and whatnot. You know the drill by now. So let's get diving into this. So this comes from Proactive, and it's like an investment sort of blog, well, type thing. But it gives you sort of the news of coming around in that investment here in the UK. Oh, there we go. So their title for this is British Exporters Blame the Post-Brexit Delays for Stagnating Trade. So the most common barriers cited by businesses are customs checks and border queues, with only 29% citing a sales increase in the second quarter. They were the same for the fifth for the consecutive quarter. So a surge in inflation and friction following Brexit has reportedly stagnated UK exports for more than a year. A survey of over 2,600 companies conducted by the British Chambers of Commerce found that 29% of businesses reported increased sales abroad and for a fifth consecutive quarter, while the sales declined for a quarter of other respondents. So that's quite bad that you've only got 29% of businesses that are increasing their sales abroad, while others are going, yeah, that's declined. So in addition to the customs checks and delays at the border, Firms said that Brexit was one of their biggest barriers to exporters. The figures indicated that the trade has not even yet recovered since the coronavirus lockdowns ended in the UK and since the UK left the EU. The BCC report says that only 39% of manufacturers shipping overseas expect profits to rise in the next year. So the combination of supply chain disruption, soaring prices, and the impact of Brexit red tape and compliance costs, again, all to do with Brexit compliance costs, has had a chilling effect on exports, said William Bain, head of trade policy at the BCC, and said in a statement, there are serious underlying issues which are hitting smaller manufacturing exporters the hardest, which we said they always were going to be the hardest hit, because it's the small and medium companies that do not have the money to be able to invest in the expertise to hire someone full time, meaning that they have to hire someone on a sort of part time or even whenever they are exporting. The I can't remember what they're called now. The customs loggers, people do sort of most of the paperwork. That costs time and money, and that money adds up. As we've said, when we've seen businesses come on here and we've read about them, of what they're doing, that there's only two reactions. Either A, well, we can continue, but we'll know that we're making a lot less money than we used to, or we can just give up, or we will just give up completely. Those are the two sort of responses. And in an economy, that's not good. That should be sending certainly a lot of warning signs to a lot of people. And I'm, again, not an economist, but that worries me. That would be worrying me. Anyway, Brain said that last summer the UK exports to the EU and overseas have stagnated, while other major exporting countries have experienced growth. While other major exporting countries have experienced growth. Last month, the Centre for Economic and Policy Research said the UK in a Changing Europe think tank found that the desire for a, quote, hard Brexit has resulted in a significant increase in trade barriers and trade costs in goods and services, as well as the new restrictions on migration flows. So overall, once again, as we said, take this all the way back to 2016. There are problems. There are going to be problems. And once again, the Brexiteers don't really have a response to it, except this is somehow going to work. And by the way, Rishi Sunak is still maintaining the absolute delusion that there is going to be no trade barrier between the UK, Northern Ireland, and Ireland. And as we've said multiple times, there has to be a barrier somewhere, because that's what we have chosen to do. That's what Brexit meant. If you pushing for this really hard Brexit, which the Tories did, pushed very much by their Brexit zealots, by the ERG, means that you've got to have a border somewhere. You've got to carry out checks. So just as there is now a checking station down at the south on Dover and other ports around the country, you've got to have a border somewhere. And that means one of two things. You either A, have a border between the North and the Republic of Ireland, which again breaks the Good Friday Agreement, will be absolutely unacceptable for the Catholic communities in sort of Northern Ireland, will certainly lead to a lot of inflamed tensions in the region. Or you have a border in the Irish Sea, and as we've seen, that's upsetting the Unionists. The new plans that certainly Liz Truss wants to push through, again, having this red lane, blue lane, the DUP still aren't promising to go back, because their aim is to completely get rid of that border in the Irish Sea. They're inflaming tensions on the ground in Northern Ireland. It is not helping people. And Rishi Sunak pushing that delusion still, absolute madness. But again, Liz Truss is no better. So, yeah, it's really, really worrying, the fact that we are seeing this. It really, really is. But yeah, this is the fantasy that many of the Brexiteers have bought into. Meanwhile, we've got the British Chamber of Commerce saying, yeah, there are problems. And I think if you've got the British Chamber of Commerce saying, yeah, we've got stagnating trade, we might want to be quite worried about this, or thinking, how can we help, alleviate this? But you've got the British government who refuse to even acknowledge that there's even any problems going on in this sector or area. So, yeah, delusions ahead, and Truss isn't going to have any solutions to these problems. He's only going to make them worse, and I'm pretty much resigned that we are going to get Prime Minister Truss, and yeah, it's going to be bad. It is going to be bad. Oh, but yeah, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And again, down below there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, and of course there is the YouTube subscription button as well, where you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get bells, whistles, and all sorts of whatnots on there. So, as always, thank you very much for those people who do help support the channel. Like I say, please do remember to hit the like and share button on your way out. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.